All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA regular season video, another trade season video. It is trade season in the NBA, and the Warriors are in a pickle, and I am going to try to fix it as a Steph Curry fan, and by proxy, a Warriors fan. We're going to talk about some possible trades that the Warriors could make after the Jimmy Butler injury. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. Now, a few things I want to get out of the way here. Some of these trades, most of them, feel improbable. They feel impossible at this point. But I've been a fan of the NBA for long enough to know anything is possible if both sides want to get a deal done. So I want to put that out there. Two, these trades are to optimize the Steph Curry window for him to at least, maybe, perhaps, get to another NBA Finals. This is not for the future. This is for the now. How impossible it seems, I still believe that Steph Curry is a championship level player and deserves to have a championship team around him. So a lot of these trades are for the now, and it foregoes a lot of the future that the Warriors have attempted to build up and just going for it right now, going for it like they did in 2021, 2022. Secondly, or thirdly, um, Steve Kerr, the coach right now, Draymond Green, second longest tenured player there. In some of these scenarios, the idea is that either Steve Kerr is going to be the coach for one more year, and everybody's contract is going to expire after next year. Steve Kerr's deal expires at the end of this year. So I'm going through some of these trades with the idea that maybe he's not the coach, maybe he is the coach. And I'm going through some of these trade ideas that Draymond Green might have to go. And as bad as that is, that only one third of the big three, that being at one point Clay, Draymond, Steph, is going to finish a Warrior, and the only one possibly being Steph, I'm okay with that. Um, so yeah, that is the three things I wanted to get out of the way. And the other thing, the pictures in front of you. Um, I just felt like putting some better times for the Warriors in front of you. Top left, Steph Curry when he broke the all-time made threes record. Steph Curry at the NBA Finals in 2021-2022. Steph Curry with the Larry O'Brien and the Finals MVP. Steph and Draymond top right, celebrating, and some more recent stuff. Middle right, Steph Curry in San Antonio this year, and the latest, Steph Curry and Draymond Green last night in a loss to the Dallas Mavericks. All right, where were we? I had to take a little break in between the intro and now. I said my whole spiel, I did my whole intro. Let's talk about the trades. So, like I said, I have, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 5 trades here. All of different kinds. 2 of them are with the same team. Um, the last 3 are very almost improbable, but I'm going to put them out there anyway. And I have an article from Sports Illustrated, 3 moves the Warriors can make to keep the title window open after Jimmy Butler's injury. So we'll talk about that at the end. So yeah, let's get to it right now. The first one I have here is between the Portland Trailblazers and the Golden State Warriors. This trade is pretty straight up. The Warriors acquire Jrue Holiday, Jeremy Grant, a 2027 second round pick, and the Trailblazers get Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody, a 2028 first round pick, top 3 protected, and a 2030 second round pick from the Warriors. So you might be asking, why do the Blazers do this? Well, they get off the Jeremy Grant money 1 year earlier. Essentially, Jeremy Grant's on a 3-year deal. Jimmy Butler's on a 2-year deal. Warriors go to the Trailblazers and say, hey, we take your problem, you take our problem. Jimmy's window is essentially closed. He's probably gonna attempt to come back. You get him for 1 year, basically, essentially for free, We take Jeremy Grant off your hands, who you haven't wanted since Damian Lillard left, and now Damian Lillard's back, but Jeremy Grant still isn't that defining piece that you need for this team that has shifted to Denny Avdia and a couple of the other guys. And you get a young, dynamic, almost consistent 3-point shooter, younger defender in Moses Moody, and the Warriors get a more experienced Drew Holiday who hasn't been the healthiest, but can still provide something on this Warriors team. Now, this should be one trade out of two, I think, that the Warriors would probably make. Um, in if this were to happen, um, you do this and then you do another trade, maybe try to finagle somebody for a couple things. You can take a little bit less assets if you are to trade Jonathan Kuminga after this in a different trade, but this is just to get rid of the Jimmy Butler contract, bring a guy who's healthy and Jeremy Grant in, bring an older guy in Drew Holiday who can play in the backcourt with Steph Curry, and you solve your backcourt issues. You get Drew Holiday, somebody who's still a high level scorer, who's a sort of waning on the defensive end, but still way better than an injured Jimmy Butler, and then sort of an inconsistent Moses Moody at times. So this is something. Um, this is a precursor to another trade. In a universe where this trade actually happens, this trade happens, and then they trade Jonathan Kuminga, like I said. So this was the first one, and the Warriors get a second round pick because they're taking on the Jimmy Grant contract, and the Warriors essentially have to give up a first round pick in 2028, top three protected, to get the Trailblazers to agree to this, to take Jimmy Butler's money, and they throw in the sweetener of the 2030 second round pick as well to the Blazers. So that's my first one. Let me know if you like it. Second one is a bit more complex, but with the same team, with the Blazers. This is essentially a 4-for-4 player trade. This is the Warriors emptying the clip. This is the Warriors just going all in for this year and next year. It's a very big gamble, but it's something that, again, to optimize the Steph Curry window, I think you have to do. You just have to go for it. You forego all the rebuild stuff you attempted to do in the past, and you just go for it right now. The Warriors get Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant, Robert Williams, Scoot Henderson. The Trailblazers get Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Quentin Post. Basically, essentially swapping half of their rosters. No picks involved. There might be a pick involved if this were to happen. I just did this straight up like this because it's the Trailblazers are essentially getting the picks in Post and Moody, who are still valuable assets. I think Jonathan Kuminga is a depreciating asset, so the Warriors might need to throw in a pick to convince the Blazers to do this. Again, the Jimmy Butler, Jeremy Grant thing, where Jimmy Butler's on a year less of his deal, so the Blazers can get out from under that Jeremy Grant money. Warriors get you Holiday, like in the last trade. They do get Robert Williams in this, a replacement for Quentin Post. Robert Williams not been the most healthy player in the NBA, but I think in a Warriors system, in a Warriors Steph Curry led team, Robert Williams would be somebody that thrives. A run, jump, dunk, defensive oriented guy who would be very good for this team. And the Warriors take on Scoot Henderson, who is effectively, and I say this in the nicest way possible, a bust. Um, the Blazers, they swung and they missed on that draft pick. And the Warriors take on Scoot Henderson, maybe try to rehabilitate him, and maybe he is the future. He has not been the healthiest either. So the 4 players the Warriors get back, or 3 out of the 4 players the Warriors get back, aren't the healthiest, but it's at least something to go for it, to say, hey, we have something a little bit for the future in Scoot Henderson, even though he isn't the brightest tool in the shed, the shiniest tool, the newest tool in the shed. You have Robert Williams, you have Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant sort of fitting that Andrew Wiggins role when the Warriors went to the finals in 2021-2022. Drew Holiday, bolstering the backcourt. Robert Williams being the run, jump, dunk guy, like I said, and Scoot Henderson a little bit for the future, again, be mentored by, Steph Curry, and maybe the Warriors could really rehabilitate him in a world where the coach is not Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr is not really good at motivating those types of young players, and Scoot would be a future project. And on the Trailblazers side, you get Jimmy Butler. Not going to play this year. Will probably attempt to come back next year if he doesn't retire. Um, if he does retire, then the money comes off the books essentially, or at least he comes off the books. You get Jonathan Kuminga, a sort of swap of let's try to rehabilitate each other's players. The Warriors get Scoot, Blazers get Jonathan Kuminga, who I think wants a bigger role, but in all reality, I think the biggest thing for Jonathan would probably be to have some competition, and for Jonathan to be able to see what Danny does every day, to be able to see what Tumani Kamara does every day. Both forward spots are filled, and Jonathan Kuminga is gonna have to fight for that spot. But I think whatever coach the Trailblazers have, whether it's the coach, the interim coach they have now, or a different coach in the future, I think Jonathan Kuminga has a better chance having a bigger role as a Trailblazer than he probably would ever have as a Warrior. Um, Blazers again get Moses Moody in this deal as well, and the Blazers take on another sort of long-term project, adding to Young Hansen, the center they drafted last year. They add Quentin Post, um, sort of reorganizing their center depth, losing some stability in Robert Williams, but gaining a younger asset and a healthier asset, and maybe a higher upside asset in Quentin Post, somebody who can stretch the floor, somebody who you can pair with Young Hansen or whoever you want in the front court. So yeah, those are my two Blazers deals. More realistically, I think the first one is more probable. Um, but this one would be like in a world where the Blazers aren't close to the Warriors and they want to in the standings and they want to surpass the Warriors. The Blazers just wouldn't do this. Since they are so close to the Warriors in the standings, they wouldn't help out the Warriors, I don't think. So this is if like the Blazers were a little bit farther down the standings and they weren't as close to the Warriors. I think the second one is possible, but um, I can dream. I can dream that this this second one can happen. So let's move on to a new team, and one that these next two are pretty crazy, and then the last one's really complicated, but I think it's realistic. This next one involves the Golden State Warriors and the Miami Heat. This one is essentially um, in a world where Pat Riley is not senile, and that the Warriors can fess up to all their mistakes and say, you know what, Brandon Podziemski was the wrong guy. Jonathan Kuminga, we didn't nurture him. Draymond Green is sort of out of touch. We need a whole new direction. We're going for it now. We're bringing a familiar face back in, and we're bringing somebody who does what Draymond Green does, but he's more athletic, younger, and basically not a locker room distraction, we'll say. This trade, the Warriors get Bam Adebayo, a returning Andrew Wiggins, and a second round pick in 2026. And then Miami Heat, Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, Quentin Post, a 2026 first round pick, a 2028 first round pick, top three protected, and the Warriors would probably have to add some other compensation for the Heat because they're not giving up Bam Adebayo for two first round picks. They want like three or four. So they're going to have to find those picks somewhere, maybe get a third team involved. But this is the bones of the trade that I came up with. Like I alluded to, Bam Adebayo essentially being a younger, more athletic Draymond Green, whose offensive ceiling is about the same. Their offensive ceiling, Draymond Green and Bam Adebayo's offensive ceiling is practically the same. Um, Bam Adebayo essentially being the de facto point center at times. He hasn't really shown it recently in recent times with the Heat, but in the past when their offense was a little bit different, Bam was that point center for them. He's a great passer. Um, Shows up in big games. Has been in big games. Is somebody that if you add to this Warriors team, and you're not getting any bigger. Um, how tall is well, you are getting bigger, but Bam Adebayo isn't a real true center. He's 6'9". He's not particularly tall, but he's tall and athletic enough to be in that Warriors offense with pace and space and all that stuff that they used to love to do and that they've sort of fallen away from. And Bam Adebayo could sort of rejuvenate that offense. Um, has experience with Steph Curry from the Olympics, from the Olympic teams. Andrew Wiggins obviously has experience with Steph Curry, Steve Kerr on those Olympics teams. Bam Adebayo also been coached by Steve Kerr. So in a perfect world, you could get this done. You would have to cobble together so many draft picks, and again, essentially give up your whole youth movement. But this does something, and you might be wondering, well, where's Jimmy Butler? Is he still on this team? This is another situation where you do this deal and then you do another deal after this one to get rid of Jimmy Butler, to open up some money and do some other moves, try to finagle the roster. Because when you do this deal, the Golden State Warriors would have 12 standard contract players. After the trade, they would need to get to 14. So the Warriors do have room for two more players, whether that's um, the waiver wire or doing another trade and getting two players back for Jimmy Butler. I do not know what that is. I did not get that far deep into it, but this trade is, I think, this is an ideal trade. And again, I did the whole prelude with, you have to admit you messed up the Jonathan Kuminga thing. Brandon Podziemski really isn't anything special. Quentin Post is just okay enough. Moses Moody is probably the best asset in this deal. And you sort of throw Draymond Green to Miami, let him finish out his days um, in Miami with whoever the Miami Heat have after this. And this is the Miami Heat sort of reverting back to like a rebuild sort of thing. And quite frankly, maybe having enough ammo, because they're always rumored in these big trades to cobble together a contract to trade these guys down the road. This is how I'm trying to rationalize it in my head. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but walk with me. This next one, second to last one here, this one's the craziest one. This one has a lot of caveats to it. The biggest caveat is that this is between the Warriors and the Milwaukee Bucks. This is between the Warriors and the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is a huge trade, obviously, because it involves Giannis. The Warriors aren't making any trade with the Bucks unless it involves Giannis. And the other caveat to this is that Giannis walks into the front office sometime in the next couple weeks and says, "I want to be a Golden State Warrior. I don't want to be anywhere else. Trade me there. I don't want to be anywhere else." That's it. End of conversation. And the Warriors are the only Bucks trading partner. That is the hugest caveat to this. Now, to get into the details that I have collected in front of me, the Warriors would get Giannis Antetokounmpo, Miles Turner, taking that Miles Turner money off the books for the Bucks. That'd be a huge deal. I think that's one of the biggest sticking points. Is, hey, if we're gonna lose Giannis, you have to take Miles Turner too and get that money off our books, because we just paid him to keep Giannis here, and if Giannis isn't gonna be here, you have to take the money too. So Miles Turner, Bobby Portis, proven winner, really great glue guy. Um, and the Warriors get a second round pick, 2026, and a 2031 first round pick, top three protected. This is just simply to why did I give them a first round pick? Why did I do that? Oh, because like Moses Moody, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, like, we're doing you a favor. Please give us a pick, sort of thing. I don't think that the first round pick would be there. It might not even. We'll say it won't even convey, so to speak. But just throwing it in there as a little sweetener. Um, even though you're already getting Giannis. And then the Bucks, again, similar with the last trade idea, um, the Bucks would probably ask for way more draft picks than just three, or three more, way more than three first round picks. The Bucks are getting Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski, Quentin Post, a 2026 first round pick, a 2028 first round pick, top three protected, and a 2032 first round pick, top three protected. Um, I think this is one of the craziest deals I managed to cobble together. Um, when I'm on Fanspo, the website I use to do these trades, it says success. That makes me very happy. Success doesn't mean realistic, and this is probably the craziest one that I have here. Um, it's been rumored for like 5, 6 years that Steph wants to play with Giannis, and I would like to see it. I don't know if it's a true possibility at this point. I do think, however, that if Steph Curry made a call as well, and I heard this the other day as well, if Steph Curry made a call to Giannis, say, "Hey, I want you to be a Warrior. The front office is ready to do almost anything. Let's get it done." I think Giannis would be like, "Hell yeah, get me out of Milwaukee right now." You know, um, Giannis isn't the youngest player, um, but he is not the oldest by any stretch of the imagination either, and he keeps the Warriors window open, the Steph Curry window open, and a duo of Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I blanked on his name. I'm looking right at it. Um, would at least have another 4 years if Steph wants to play another 4 years. That's the biggest caveat as well. But um, that would be it for the Bucks. You get Jonathan Kuminga, who you can try to rehabilitate. You get Moses Moody. You get Brandon Podziemski. You get Quentin Post. This isn't the best deal, but it's probably one of the most treasure laden deals you could probably get. That's an immediate return for Giannis that you don't have to wait for picks. You're not trying to be competitive. You're literally going for the tank. You're trying to tank. You're trying to be a terrible team for this back half of this season and for the future as well. And you have guys who are on deals. Moses Moody's on a 3 year deal. Brandon Podziemski's on a 2 year deal. You're off the Jimmy Butler money. You desperately need to be off this money. Um, because the rest of the guys that are going to the Warriors, Giannis 3 year deal, Miles Turner 4 year deal, Bobby Porter's 3 year deal. You get off that money early, and by the time you hit 2030, when the Dame contract that you stretched and waived him this past summer is up, you're back to having cap space. You have these picks. You have everything you need to do a really good rebuild. So me rationalizing this, um, it makes sense. You let me know if it makes sense. Comment down below. And then heading to our last one here, probably the most complicated one that I was trying to get done. I was like, I don't know if I can get this done, but I did get it done. There are some caveats here. There are some Stepien rules in which, for those who do not know, the Stepien rules, you can't trade first round picks in back to back years. So it's every other year you can trade your pick as a franchise. And the other big problem here is that there's a player that's recently signed, so they would need to wait for that window to open. But the deal is essentially Miles Bridges is acquired by the Warriors. The Knicks get Draymond Green, Nick Richards, Jordan Goodwin, Nigel Hayes, and the Suns get Gershon Yabusele, Hakeem Pidadier, Jordan Clarkson, and a 2027 second round pick. Now, you might be asking, why are the Suns involved? Well, I tried to do this deal between the Warriors and the Knicks, and it just wasn't physically possible. Um, I sort of, in my mind, was like, well, you get Jordan Clarkson on a 1 year deal. He's off the books next year or this year, after this year. You get a young player in Dadier, 3 year deal. He shoots the ball, whatever. Um, keep him on the books, keep him on the back burner, keep him on the bench, whatever you want to do. And then you get Gershon Yabusele on a 2 year deal. You can probably waive him after this year, and just eat the 5 million because you have so much space and so much room, and you accrue a pick from the Knicks essentially. And I also did this because the Knicks would probably ask for more from Mikal Bridges because they want to recoup some picks, and the Suns do give up a pick in this. The Knicks receive a first round pick in 2030, top three protected from the Suns, a first round pick in 2029 from the Warriors, top three protected, and a 2027 first round pick from the Warriors, top five protected. So the Knicks would get some of their. Let's start with the Knicks. The Knicks would get some of their assets back that they wasted in the Mikal Bridges trade. You bring in some guys who bring some identity back to this Knicks roster. Obviously, Draymond Green, Jordan Goodwin. Jordan Goodwin, a really good glue guy. Draymond Green, Karl Anthony Towns have their own problems, but in a world where Mike Brown is the coach and Draymond Green comes into that locker room, he's gonna put those guys in the shape. He's gonna hypothetically, not hypothetically, speculatory, put those guys in the shape, give them an identity, give them some grit, give them some toughness that they're lacking right now. And hell, this trade might even result in a cat trade after this, you know. But I'm going through this as if this is just a straight up trade, no other trade after this. Um, the Knicks do get a good backup center in Nick Richards. You can test the waters with him with the threat of Mitchell Robinson that's already on the Knicks roster, a free agent at the end of the year. You could lose him. You test Nick Richards out. Maybe you like one over the other. Um, you get Jordan Goodwin again, another glue guy, and you get Nigel Hayes, who is just here to make the money work. Yeah, low minutes guy. And then for the Suns, like I said, Yabusele, a couple other guys, just as filler. Um, they would probably want some more picks to take on some of these bad deals. They probably would want more than 2027 second rounder from the Sun, from the Knicks. But I could not make this work any more than if I just gave up. You know, like I couldn't do anything more with the Warriors. They're already in the step-in rule. We're gonna pretend that they're gonna find a way to get another pick from somebody else and give it to the Suns just to take on this bad money. And at the end of the day, the Warriors end up in this long, convoluted trade with Mikal Bridges, who doesn't fix all the Warriors' problems, who isn't necessarily a future guy, but at least helps a little bit. I mean, like, it's somebody to like be like, okay, we have this asset. It works with Steph Curry enough. It's sort of Andrew Wiggins esque a little bit, and you see what you can do. As if you look at this as a Warriors fan, you say we literally traded Draymond Green from Mikal Bridges. Does that make you happy? Probably not. But it's to optimize the window, and I will say there's probably the Jimmy Butler trade has to happen after this. But that's something for another day. So yeah, those are my 5 trades that could possibly, maybe in a fantasy world, or maybe some of these will be reality one day, fix the Warriors. Now let's move on to this um, article here by Sports Illustrated. I do have some honorable mentions that I do want to make here that I also thought about throwing in the trade machine, but I did not do. Utah Jazz basically lower marketing and whatever else the Warriors can give up to try to get him. Um, that one's sort of been rumored. It seems kind of dead in the water at this point. They tried to make it happen last year. It couldn't happen last year, so I don't think it's going to happen this year. The Pelicans are in limbo. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, um, any of those guys that have any value. If the Pelicans want to extract something out of it, maybe trade one of those guys to the Warriors. That doesn't fix the Warriors' problems all the way. It helps a little bit. The Mavericks is essentially either a Klay Thompson and Anthony Davis go to the Warriors. Klay Thompson reunites with Steph Curry, obviously. Draymond Green would have to be in that deal, but you sort of you push Draymond Green to the Dallas Mavericks to play with Kyrie and Cooper Flag, and then you get Anthony Davis, who's notoriously unhealthy, can't stay healthy, but at least it's something, and you get a feel good story in Klay Thompson back, and then the Michael Porter Jr. Nets Warriors Jonathan Kuminga swap essentially with some filler. I've made my feelings known about Michael Porter Jr. I don't. I think the most realistic one is that one. I think especially after this Jimmy Butler trade, that is the most realistic one. So yeah, and then let's get in the article and finish out this video. Like I said, 3 moves the Warriors can make to keep the title window open after the Jimmy Butler injury. I will leave this article down below if you want to check it out. Blah 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 blah. Come on. Okay, so this trade, this is another one that we probably should have been an honorable mention. The Warriors receive Malik Monk and Keon Ellis, and the Kings get Jonathan Kuminga. So a Kings Warriors trade. This trade should. I'll be honest. We would not be in this situation. Um, the Warriors would not be in the situation if they did this trade. This whole Jonathan Kuminga thing has been a disaster thus far. Um, this you probably should have done this in the summer. So this is probably knowing I've done all this work to do these 5 trades. This is probably the one that's going to happen. It doesn't fix the roster at all. Um, the next one I've heard in the background, but has really no concrete viability to me, is that the Warriors receive Kobe White and Io DeSumo, and the Bulls receive Jonathan Kuminga, a 2026 first round pick, lottery protected. The Bulls would probably want like it only top three protected from the Warriors because they're trying to get another good draft pick in the building in Chicago. I like Kobe White a lot. I don't know a lot about Io DeSumo. Kobe White, the Steph Curry successor, that's really what it is. He can play with Steph Curry now, and he's going to be the future of this team. Um, I don't love it, but it's something. And then the last one here, of course, is the Michael Porter Jr. one, but this one involves Day'Ron Sharpe, which I like as well. So the Warriors receive Michael Porter Jr. and Day'Ron Sharpe, and the Nets receive Jimmy Butler, Gary Payne II, a 2026 first round pick, a 2027 first round pick swap, and a 2028 first round pick. I don't think they can. Oh, it's only a swap, so I guess this probably does work. Um, I'm not giving you three first round picks for Michael Porter Jr. I'll give you another player, but I'm not giving you another pick if I'm the Warriors. I'll take Jaron Sharp off your hands though. So yeah, that's my mad ramblings of a Steph Curry fan. Um, I just want to take a moment here at the end to say, if this is the end of the window of Steph Curry and the Warriors and they can't get anything done, the Warriors notoriously never do anything at the trade deadline. Um, Maybe that one time they traded D'Angelo Russell at the trade deadline, but that was literally just to get rid of him. That was back in like 2020, 2019, 2020, something like that. Um, it's it's a sad way to go out, and there is some like, there's always talk of this. There was talk about this before 2021 that like the Warriors are done. The Warriors should trade Steph Curry. He's still not at the peak of his powers, but still has his powers. Still an all-star starter level player, an all NBA player. They should trade him, do him the courtesy, let him go play his years out somewhere that's more competitive. And in a way, I do feel like that as well. Um, I've always been a Steph Curry fan first. Um, I fell in love with the way the Warriors played basketball, the brand of beautiful basketball that they did play. Um, the Hamptons Five when it was Steph, Clay, um, Andre Iguodala, KD, Draymond when it was the four of them, Steph, Clay, Iggy, Draymond. Um, I really love that brand of basketball, and it's still the most appealing basketball and the most effective basketball I've ever seen. Um, and for it to have devolved into what it is now, and people say Steve Kerr's behind the eight ball, I I I think I would be upset that he's not a Warrior anymore because it's very rare to have somebody play the whole career in one jersey, but it'd be understandable. And same thing with the Giannis situation. You've done everything you can for this franchise. If they do end up trading you, I don't think the fans would be mad about it. They'd be upset, but not mad. And the other thing, if this is not, if this is the beginning of the end, because next year's the real end, his contract is up, Draymond Green's contract is up. Um, where does that leave this team, this Warriors team? It essentially leaves it in no man's land. And I've said this since I've started this channel. The worst thing you can be is in the middle, is mediocre. That is the worst possible place you can be because there's no looking forward. There's only looking back to be like, man, what we used to have. And I, 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 I think with this almost this trade deadline being the clear demarcation of an end of an era. The Warriors dynasty, unless they make a huge move, is effectively over. Um, the stuff with LeBron happening in LA with the Lakers is a beginning of the end. And for this era of basketball to start to really end, like this is it. The light at the end of the tunnel is huge right now. It's not small like it was even 5 years ago. It's huge now. You can see towards the end. You can see the trees and the flowers and the birds and everything at the end of the tunnel. Um, it's it's quite frankly very sad, and to be left with what the NBA is now is kind of crazy. So I just wanted to say that here at the end. There's one more thing I want to say. I have a quote from Steph Curry here. Um, if I can find it very quickly, about last night's loss, and it really encapsulates the season as a whole so far. And I found it. This is a quote from Steph Curry about last night's loss and the reality that Jimmy Butler is actually not going to play the rest of the season. This is this is difficult for everybody to accept the reality of what's going on. And yeah, I'm gonna leave you with that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys will get back. We will get back to our regularly scheduled NBA content unless there's a trade. This video is pre-recorded, so if you're seeing it, the Warriors didn't make a trade yet. If you haven't seen this, or maybe I uploaded it and then the trade happened, there you go. It's pre-recorded. So yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Cheers.